Good morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you are well. It is Wednesday, the 26th of February 2025. The debate over whether pro-independence voters should cast both votes for the SNP or whether they should vote SNP in the constituency and a different pro-independence party in the regional list has been a source of unnecessary division within the independence movement for years. It is one of the most toxic and damaging debates we engage in, not because there isn't a clear answer, but because so many refuse to accept the truth. The way Holyrood's voting system works means that in almost every case, the best strategy for independent supporters in 2026 is to vote SNP in the constituency and another pro-indie party in the regional vote. The only exceptions are those in the south of Scotland and the north of Scotland, where local dynamics mean the SNP on the regional list still has potential value. Would pro-independence activists not prefer to have a pro-Scottish government and a pro-Scottish opposition instead of a government constrained by a weak or hostile unionist opposition? Because that's what's at stake. Independence will never be won by blindly voting SNP twice. It will be won by maximising the number of pro-independence MSPs in Holyrood. Yet this topic is so toxic that it's simply raising it sparks hostility. The movement fractures over this question time and time again. Social media arguments erupt, activists block each other, and distrust spreads, all because some refuse to acknowledge electoral reality. The damage done by this division is immense, and every year wasted on infighting is another year where Westminster tightens its grip. So why is both votes SNP a fictional strategy? The argument for both votes SNP is rooted in emotion, party loyalty, and a touch of misinformation, rather than hard electoral facts. The belief is that maximising SNP votes will somehow guarantee an outright mandate for independence. This actually ignores the additional member system, the voting system that is used to elect MSPs in Holyrood. The problem is simple. The SNP wins so many constituency seats that it makes it almost impossible for them to gain regional list seats. The AMS is designed to counterbalance strong constituency performance by allocating list seats to underrepresented parties. By flooding the regional vote with SNP votes, the independent supporters are wasting votes that could otherwise elect additional pro-independence MSPs. But the people pushing both votes SNP don't engage with the evidence. They refuse to listen, and this is where a bit of zealotry and tribalism enter the equation. If it's good enough for Nicola Sturgeon, then it's good enough for me. We used it in 2011 and we got a majority then. You know something? Nicola had to say both votes SNP. John will probably end up saying both votes SNP as well, because the SNP are not allowed to support another party. So they will never say, hey, vote for us in the constituency and vote for another pro-indie party in the list. So am I saying that they're lying then? Absolutely not. They believe wholeheartedly in their party. And to quote Keith Brown, I took a lot of stick for the both votes SNP strategy, but why wouldn't I want both votes for the party I love? I like Keith Brown. I've met him more than once and I too love the party I'm a member of, which also happens to be the SNP. However, I love self-determination more and I want independence more than I love the SNP. So going on what Nicola and Keith have said, and probably what John will say too, I want to point out several flaws in what they are saying. The SNP alone does not represent the entire independence movement anymore. And if you're playing my party is better than your party games, well, independence loses. Not explaining to your party members how the seats are allocated on the list, expecting them to vote blindly twice for you, getting only 2 MSPs with over 1 million votes nationally. Guess what happens? Independence loses. Not embracing that, pushing unionist parties out of Holyrood, does more for the movement than voting both SNP means, yet again, independence loses. But there are those within the movement who simply cannot separate independence from their political party. They equate supporting the SNP with supporting independence itself, refusing to acknowledge that the movement must be bigger than just one party. These individuals see any suggestion of voting for another pro-independence party as betrayal, even when the numbers clearly show that it would strengthen the cause. For these people, party comes before strategy, before pragmatism, and possibly even before independence itself. This is not a rational position. It is a defensive mindset built on fear of change and an unwillingness to admit that another party could help deliver the goal they claim to fight for. It is tribalism, plain and simple, and it is actively harming the movement. Meanwhile, as we waste time arguing over both votes SNPs, the unionist parties are preparing for a strategic vote to take over Holyrood. The rise of Reform UK threatens to split the unionist vote, but if we allow our own disunity to waste pro-independent seats, it will not matter. The Tories, Labour and Reform UK are positioning themselves to block independence at all cost, and they will exploit every weakness we give them. If we go into 2026 without learning from past mistakes, we risk handing power to those who would see Scotland locked into Westminster control indefinitely. We risk giving up the fight because someone cannot set aside party loyalty in favour of the national interest. And someone, please remind me what the national interest is. Is it the political hegemony of my party, or the independence of our nation? And even when confronted with the evidence that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that having more pro-Scottish bums on seats in Holyrood is far better for the national cause, I see activists fall back to one final, very weak argument. We don't know what the 2026 result will be, so we should just vote SNP twice to be safe. This is not playing it safe. This is taking a massive gamble. It is choosing to throw away pro-independent seats instead of securing them. We do not need to guess what will happen in 2026. We already know how the voting system works. We know what happened in 2016 and we know what happened in 2021. We have the data. The only reason to ignore it is willful ignorance or blind party loyalty. If we were fighting an independence referendum, then of course we would all vote for the same thing. But Holyrood is not a referendum. It is an election. The goal is not to just form a pro-independence government, but to create a pro-independence parliament. That means a government and an opposition that both fight for independence. Why wouldn't you want that? It boggles my mind. We do not need to agree on everything. We do not even need to like each other's parties. But if we're serious about independence, then we must be serious about winning the next election. Not just winning some seats for the SNP, but winning a majority of pro-independence voices in Holyrood. That means putting aside tribalism, that means accepting the truth about the voting system, and that means voting SNP in the constituency and another pro-independence party on the regional list. 2026 is not about policy, it's about Scotland's future. And you know what, this may not reach you yet, but I ask you not to take a chance with the list. I ask you to use it strategically and elect a strong pro-Scottish opposition. Because you will learn from any future errors of 2026, and then we'll have to wait for another 5 long years before we can act again. My feelings on this are very strong. So much so, I will prove to you how if we all gave our second vote to a different pro-independence party on the list, we would have over 90 pro-independence seats in Holyrood. I will prove to you that ALPA did not split the vote in 2021, and I will prove to you that we could have taken the Unionist Party's collective tally from 53 MSPs to 34, marginalised them in Scotland to a point of utter irrelevance. Come and watch tomorrow's video and decide for yourself.